Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and it is another cold and miserable day. I don't know how many of you guys hate this cold weather as much as I do, but I'm gonna try to get something done. It's in the high 20s, and I think the high for the day is 32, but I've got about 4 hours I can work. Oh, this is cool. I didn't expect this. There's ice on the pond. I guess it would make sense to expect that when it's below freezing. I mean, we're not skating on this, but we do have ice. So you guys give me a hard time for not finishing my projects sometimes. Well, I've got a bunch of projects that are in process, and I don't have a whole day and the weather sucks, but I want to get something done. So we're gonna go try to widen the trail and fix that bend I was installing that never got done. The only decision I've got to make right now is which machine to take up there. Now this machine was sent here for me to use, and I basically haven't used it just because I had other options. But I'm supposed to do a demo on this and give my thoughts, so today's as good a day as any to use this guy. Glow plugs are on, still preheating. Wonder how long this needs. Oh baby. See if I can remember how this one works. That's the blade. And for the thumb, so you got the side swing on the foot control down here. For the thumb, you hold this down and then use the foot control. Or my preference would be that the foot control is the thumb, and if you want to do the side swing, you hold the button down, because I think you use the thumb more.
So lately I've found myself comparing a lot of Chinese equipment, and that is not by design. It's just what I've had access to. And this equipment is helping me get my projects done here on the property. I get a lot of comments saying that all that Chinese equipment is junk. Well, I would definitely say that there is some very low quality Chinese equipment that comes into the market. But that does not mean that all Chinese equipment is low quality. China is a country, it's not a manufacturer. Sunward brought me 2 mini excavators about 6 weeks ago. And I've already done 16 videos with that larger 3.5 ton excavator. And one of those videos was bringing a professional equipment operator who owns a Bobcat mini excavator and asking him to help me do a head-to-head comparison between the 3.5 ton Sunward excavator and the 3.5 ton Bobcat excavator. And we tried to compare them in every way we could think of. From the components they used, to how much weight they could lift, to how smooth the controls were. And really, our testing found that the Sunward machine matches up to the bigger, more expensive name brand machines. And I stand by that. But I've been getting a lot of messages lately asking me about smaller excavators. So I have 2 larger excavators I could be using right now that would do a better job up here. But I've got a viewer that emailed me and asked me if I thought a 1.5 ton excavator would move rocks on his property in Arkansas. And this isn't 1.5, it's 1.8. But I'm going to see what it'll do up here, because I doubt his property has more rocks than mine. And I think this machine does a pretty good job handling these big rocks.
Now, the counterpoint is that this machine is too small for the job I'm taking it up to do. This really, what I'm doing up here, you should be using a 5 ton excavator, and people say I should be using a bulldozer, but I disagree. Because we're not trying to use brute force to move material. I don't want to dig a hole. I'm trying to precisely sort rock from dirt. The ground up here is about 50 to 60% rock and 50% dirt. If you just shove everything, you've moved all the rock and all the dirt. And what's under that? More rock and more dirt. Running a bulldozer through here leaves you with a mess that has to be sorted. What we have right now just needs sorted. And that's why I think an excavator is the perfect tool, because you can lift out rocks without removing all the dirt. I've got a bunch of machines that can just move material, but that's not what we're doing. We're sorting material. And that's why I like the excavator. But I think for the size of these rocks, this machine is too small. You need a 5 ton. But that's why I want to use this machine up here, because using the right machine for the job is great for every day. But for a video on a demo machine, I think what you want to do is push the limits, overdo it. Ask it to do things that it can't do. So this trail is 1,000 foot long. I think there's about a 80-foot elevation to the top of this hill. So it's pretty steep compared to down by the pond. And I've, built this trail 1,000 foot across this rock hill that my channel is named after. But what we're trying to do now is widen the trail so that I can get equipment across it easier, make it more of a straight line. Now, over time, I want to move the rock down and use it for different projects, but I'm not doing that today because the dump trailer's full and I don't want to mess with like that little dump trailer or something like that. So today we're just going to clear this material out of the way. Now yesterday I rolled the tracks off of that mini skid up here trying to work, and that was in a situation where I didn't think it was reasonable to have a track roll off. This is a different situation. This, I'm trying to force my way through tough terrain and use it like a bulldozer, and the rocks, the track might be up against the rocks and you're asking it to do something that isn't really fair. And so today, if a track comes off, it's like, yeah, that's just what happens. That's part of it. But that last one, that track coming off, I thought was kind of unexpected. It shouldn't have happened. I wasn't doing anything, basically. Really what I'm trying to do here is take this part of the project from being an L shape to being more of a straight line, because I want to be able to bring the dump trailer up here and pull material off. And right now I can't do that. Okay, so for this part, what I'm doing right now, there are a million different machines that would do it better. I'm trying to use a mini excavator like a bulldozer. And my earlier conversation was that this is why you wouldn't bring a bulldozer up here. Well, this is a different part of the job. And different parts of the job would have different machines to specialize in different tasks. But homeowner or guy like me, most of the time is not going to have every perfect machine. You're trying to find one machine that you can afford that will do the work. And so today I'm abusing this and using it like a bulldozer. I'm actually shocked right now. I left the excavator running up on the hill and came back down here to grab something, and I just glanced over and looked at the pond, and I can't believe I didn't see this before. I actually wasn't looking for it because it's winter and we have ice. So it's been cold for the last couple weeks, but I put out this winter rye anyway, grass seed. And I don't know how well you can see that, but it is everywhere, all across all these banks. Every inch where you see the straw, including over there on the island, has grass on it. That probably seems like who cares, right? But my theory of spending money on grass seed in the winter was if I can get it to come up at all, there'll be that little bit of a root structure that keeps it from washing away. Because my big concern is that up until the point we have grass down or any vegetation down, it's going to erode so much faster. I've noticed with my swales, when they're dirt, like you can lose a ton of material in a hurry with one good rain. But as soon as you get grass, it's a slow process. Okay, so whenever I came out here this morning, what we had here was a trail like 7-8 feet wide. My dump trailer, whenever I brought the dump trailer up here, it would be pushing up on the rocks on this side, and it would be up on the rocks on this side. Now we've widened this out a lot. So previously, the dump trailer would be riding up on these rocks, and over here it would also be riding up on rocks. But now I've widened this out 3 or 4 feet, but you can see I've also changed the angle. It's getting wider and wider as we go, till now we're like, 12 to 15 feet. And what I'm trying to do is make a run that goes here. Where the excavator is sitting is where the original trail went, and it had a 90-degree turn there and a 90-degree turn there. What I want is to go straight through here. And I've already been up in here and ripped out a lot of these rocks, but look what it left behind. This is what happens. I was using a mini skid steer. When you try to use brute force to push material up here, you end up with a mess left over. So all those rocks over there and all these rocks here came from this area. Whenever I pushed them out, this is just as bad as what I started with. I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down. And now this is not gonna be brute force anymore. It's going to be sorting material, trying to smooth this out. So I've been getting a lot of questions about the smaller excavators. People say it's great that you like your 3.5 ton, but what can a 1.5 ton do? Well, I don't have a 1.5, but I've got a 1.8. And that rock weighs a lot. One of the questions was, I have really rocky ground. Will this smaller excavator be able to handle those big rocks? This Sunward SWE 18UF is currently handling a rock that's 4 foot wide, 18 to 20 inches thick. I guess that rock might weigh, I don't know, 500 pounds minimum. So if your rocks are bigger than that, you might have a problem.
So I've spent way too much time in way too many videos talking about the best machines to use to work on this trail. And what I've come up with is there is no good machine for this. It's just a mess. And it's going to be a mess no matter what you're using or how you try to do it. And all I can do is make the best of what I have. And the result is that it's working. It's not fast, it's not pretty, and you could debate what would have been better or what the best way would be. But the end result is, when I need to get up here, I can now hop in my side-by-side and drive up here. And every time I work on it, it gets just a little bit better. And today's another example of that. This little 1.8 ton excavator got the work done. I would have been faster with a bigger excavator, but that's really the difference between a small machine and a big machine. It's usually not about what kind of work you can get done versus work you can't get done. It's usually just how much patience do you have, because you're going to need it if you're using a smaller machine. But overall, I was really happy with the way this machine performed. And I worked it back and forth for about 4 hours across some really uneven terrain. And it handled it all like a champ. Now, the end game here is not just to leave it the way you see it now. But now that I've got room to bring a dump trailer up here, I will bring dump trailer loads of dirt up and spread those so that we have a completely rock-free terrain to drive over. And whenever I take the dump trailer back down, it will be full of these rocks. But I'm not in a big hurry to accomplish that second part, because right now I have access, and I'll just work on it as I go and use it as an area to work with different machines like I have been. And eventually, I'll probably cover the entire thing in either wood chips or crushed stone. And I've gotten a lot of mixed feedback on using the wood chips as a base for a trail, but the only way I'm going to make up my mind is to try it in one test area and see how I like it with our weather and our soil.
So at some point my camera battery died, and I don't know how much of that I got, but I'm done here, and I've made this so much wider. It used to end here. I've widened it way out here. And the other day I wanted to show someone the trail, and I looked over there. I'm like, I can't even drive the side-by-side across it. It's so rough. Now, right now, this is all muddy, so every time I drive across, it squishes, you know, so it's gonna stay rough. You can't really grade mud, but now I can drive through this, and it just needs a layer put on top of it. I made this a lot wider. So I removed all of this, I removed all of this, and I sloped this out. So now we can actually drive straight up this, which was the goal. So I accomplished what I wanted out of this project. It was a good, productive day. It was good to get some hours on that machine. And I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.